Did you know that some of the most legendary poker players just disappeared from the game? They walked away from the tables and left the poker world wondering why. It wasn't just about the money. It was scandals, burnout, new opportunities, and sometimes just the realization that the high-stakes lifestyle wasn't worth the cost. Today, we're diving deep into the stories of the poker greats who stepped away at the peak of their fame. Chris Moneymaker, the man behind the boom. Chris Moneymaker's name is synonymous with the modern poker explosion. But there's more to his story than just the $2.5 million win in 2003. When he sat down at that final table, Moneymaker was hiding a huge secret. He had lied to his family and told them he wasn't going to play. In fact, he wasn't even supposed to be there. Moneymaker had originally sold half of his main event entry for just $5,000 to reduce his risk, thinking he wouldn't last long against the pros. Little did he know, this amateur would become the spark that lit poker's global fire. Beyond his WSOP victory, Moneymaker embraced his newfound fame by touring the world, becoming the face of poker stars and representing the dream that anyone could go from an online qualifier to a world champion. But life on the road came at a cost. The constant travel, pressure to perform, and the public spotlight took their toll on Moneymaker's personal life and mental health. He's openly spoken about battling depression during his career and the struggles of keeping up with the relentless schedule. Moneymaker's departure from PokerStars in 2020 was more than just a change of sponsorship. It was a signal of his shift in priorities. He wanted to reclaim time with his family and regain balance after nearly 2 decades in the limelight. Still, he continues to be a pivotal figure in poker, making appearances at select events and focusing on new business ventures like Moneymaker Gaming, his own poker room and merchandise brand. By stepping back, Chris Moneymaker left behind a legacy larger than any prize pool. A legacy that showed the world that poker wasn't just a game of pros, but a game for the dreamers. Barry Greenstein, the Robin Hood of poker. Barry Greenstein wasn't just another face at the poker table. He was a legend, earning the nickname the Robin Hood of poker for his generosity. Over his career, Greenstein amassed over $8 million in live tournament earnings. But it wasn't just the money that defined him. He gained widespread respect, not only for his skill, but for donating a significant portion of his winnings to charity, particularly towards children's causes. Greenstein's accolades include 3 World Series of Poker, WSOP bracelets, and 2 World Poker Tour, WPT titles. His most notable victories were in the 2004 WPT No Limit Hold'em Championship, where he took home $1.2 million, and his 2005 World Series of Poker win in the $1.5 thousand pot limit Omaha event. Barry was never the loudest or the flashiest, but his consistent success and calm demeanor earned him the admiration of players and fans alike. Throughout his career, Greenstein donated millions to charity, with one of his preferred beneficiaries being Children Incorporated, a nonprofit supporting children in need around the world. This commitment wasn't just a media move. It became a defining part of his legacy in poker. But as poker evolved, Barry slowly stepped back. The game's culture began to shift, with new, younger players embracing aggressive tactics and online poker rising to dominance. Televised poker began to focus more on entertainment and personalities, rather than just skill.
I'm going to walk out. If these guys are going to come here, waste my time, I'm going to walk out of the game.
Barry, with his analytical style and calm persona, didn't fit into this new mold. In the mid-2010s, Greenstein started making fewer appearances at major events, prioritizing his family and stepping back from the grind of high-stakes tournaments. Some say the changing dynamics of the game pushed him out, while others believe it was a natural step after decades at the table. In the end, Barry Greenstein's quiet exit from the public poker scene left a noticeable gap, a reminder that even the most respected figures have their limits. But his contributions, both at the tables and beyond, left a legacy that few can match. Joe Hackam, the end of an era for the Aussie champ. Joe Hackam didn't just win the WSOP main event in 2005, he became a national hero in Australia, putting the country on the poker map with his historic victory. Hackam's win earned him $7.5 million, the largest payout in poker history at that time. But beyond the prize money, Hackam's win was a cultural milestone. In the years following his triumph, Hackam became a global ambassador for the game, representing poker stars and traveling the world to promote poker. However, as poker's landscape evolved, Hackam began to express his frustration. He openly criticized the kill or be killed mentality that seemed to dominate the game, pointing out that the camaraderie and respect he once experienced were being replaced by hyper-aggressive strategies and a new generation of players focused solely on money. By 2011, Hackam's appearances at major tournaments became sporadic, and in 2012, he parted ways with PokerStars after 6 years as their ambassador. The split signaled a shift in his career, with Hackam choosing to focus more on business ventures and family. He made it clear that he wasn't interested in grinding tournament circuits full-time anymore, stating that the game had lost its appeal for him. Today, Hackam's exit from the spotlight is seen as the end of an era for Australian poker. His departure left a void that few have been able to fill, marking the closing of a chapter where the joy of the game seemed just as important as the winnings. Jennifer Harmon, the queen of high-stakes cash games. Jennifer Harmon is considered one of the best female poker players in history. She's known for her incredible skill in high-stakes cash games, playing regularly in Bobby's room at the Bellagio against the biggest names in the game. Harmon wasn't just successful, she was a trailblazer in a male-dominated arena, earning the respect of her peers and amassing over $2.7 million in live tournament winnings. Harmon secured 2 WSOP bracelets, one in Limit Hold'em in 2000 DOS, and another in the notoriously tough no-limit deuce-to-7 draw event in 2002, becoming the only woman at that time to win multiple bracelets in open events. But behind the success and the glory, Harmon faced a series of personal challenges that eventually led her to step away from the game. In the early 2000s, Harmon underwent 2 kidney transplants due to a congenital condition. Despite these health issues, she continued to compete at the highest levels, showcasing her resilience and dedication to the game. Over time, though, the demands of poker and her focus on raising her twin sons took precedence. In addition to her health concerns, Harmon expressed the desire to move on to new ventures and spend more time with her family. She scaled back her poker appearances significantly, no longer the regular fixture at the high-stakes tables she once was. However, Harmon left an indelible mark on the poker world, becoming an inspiration for women entering the game and a symbol of strength amid adversity. Jennifer Harmon's departure wasn't just a career decision. It was a shift towards prioritizing what mattered most to her beyond the felt. Her story highlights that even poker's toughest competitors sometimes need to make the hardest decision of all: to walk away. Paul Eskimo Clark, the polarizing poker veteran. Paul Eskimo Clark was one of poker's most polarizing figures, a larger-than-life personality known for his fearless play and eccentric behavior. Throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, Clark made a name for himself as a hard-nosed grinder, winning 3 WSOP bracelets in various forms of stud poker. He was a fixture in Las Vegas card rooms, battling it out with other veterans in long cash game sessions. However, despite his successes, Eskimo's life at the poker table was anything but stable. Over the years, stories about Clark's antics became almost as legendary as his wins. He was known for playing marathon sessions without much concern for his health, once collapsing at the table during the 2007 WSOP due to dehydration and refusing medical help to continue playing. His intense dedication to the game and aggressive playing style earned him a reputation as a fearless competitor, but it came at a heavy cost. Eskimo's departure from the poker world wasn't marked by a single event, but rather a slow decline due to ongoing health issues and a struggle with gambling addiction. He faced severe financial difficulties and reportedly lived in poverty towards the end of his life, relying on the kindness of others in the poker community. Despite his flaws, Eskimo Clark remains a symbol of an old-school poker era, a time when players pushed their limits, both mentally and physically, in pursuit of poker glory. His exit from the game was a somber reminder that even poker legends aren't immune to the heavy price of the lifestyle they chose. Fedor Holz, from poker prodigy to tech tycoon. In 2016, Fedor Holz wasn't just winning poker tournaments, he was demolishing them. At just 22 years old, the German wunderkind racked up 16 million in a single year. Every high roller he entered, he seemed to win. The poker world had never seen anything like it. They called him Crown Up Guy online, where he crushed the highest stakes games. In live tournaments, his presence at a final table started to feel inevitable. Six-figure scores turned into seven-figure wins. $1 million cash wasn't news anymore. It was just another Tuesday for Fedor. In one particularly insane stretch, he won 4 high rollers in just 2 months, including a $4.9 million score in the WSOP 1 drop. His peers weren't just impressed, they were scared. Phil Hellmuth called him the best tournament player I've ever seen. Then, at the height of his dominance, Holz shocked everyone. He announced he was semi-retiring from poker. Not because he was broke, not because he was losing, but because he wanted more from life. The poker world couldn't believe it. Why walk away when you're printing money? The answer was simple. Fedor was thinking bigger than poker. While most players chase the next big score, Holz turned his attention to the business world. He founded Primed Mind, a mindset coaching app, and started pouring millions into tech startups. His reason? Poker wasn't fulfilling enough. I wanted to create something lasting. Today, Holz is worth far more than he ever made in poker, thanks to early investments in companies like Spryker and his own ventures. He still shows up for the occasional $1 million tournament, and usually wins those too. But the days of Fedor Holz, the unstoppable poker machine, were over just as quickly as they began. The kid who dominated poker walked away at 23, not because he had to, but because he could. Howard Lederer, the rise and fall of the poker professor. Howard Lederer wasn't just any poker pro. He was one of the most respected strategists in the game, known as the poker professor due to his analytical approach and deep understanding of poker strategy. Lederer carved out a legendary career in the late 1990s and early 2000s. He was one of the co-founders of Full Tilt Poker, which at its peak was the second largest online poker site in the world, and his role earned him immense wealth and influence in the poker community. But Lederer's world came crashing down in 2011 when the US Department of Justice dropped a bombshell, accusing Full Tilt Poker of being a Ponzi scheme. Players' funds, amounting to over $300 million, were reportedly used to pay the site's owners and executives instead of being kept secure. Dubbed Black Friday, this scandal rocked the poker world and sent Lederer's reputation into freefall. What made Lederer's departure particularly significant was the sheer scale of the fallout. He went from being a poker icon to a pariah almost overnight. Although Lederer avoided jail time, the public backlash was severe. The poker community demanded explanations and apologies, but Lederer remained silent for years, retreating from the spotlight while legal battles and financial settlements played out. When he finally broke his silence in 2016, issuing an apology in a video interview, many saw it as too little, too late. By then, the damage to his legacy was done. Lederer's departure from poker was not voluntary. It was a forced exile from a community that once revered him. Today, while he occasionally makes quiet appearances at small events, Lederer's name is forever linked to one of poker's darkest moments, a cautionary tale of how quickly a poker empire can collapse. Every poker player dreams of making it big, the bracelets, the fame, the millions. But as we've seen, sometimes walking away from it all takes more courage than staying. From Moneymaker choosing family over fame, to Jennifer Harmon finding a higher purpose, to the Godfather himself playing his final hand. Each story reminds us that poker is just one chapter in a larger life. These players didn't just leave behind winnings and titles. They left behind lessons about knowing when to hold them and knowing when to fold them for good. Hit subscribe to catch that and more incredible poker stories every week. Drop a like if you learned something new today and let us know in the comments. Which poker legend story surprised you the most?